at the site to find you.
Okay, and with that, the recording has begun. I don't think there's anything else we need to do before starting presentations. So Yolande, do you know how to, if you have a slideshow that you're going to have with your presentation, do you know how to share your screen?
If I've been given permission, I can click on the share button, right?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be sharing the screen for the second reading, the second piece. The first piece I can paste in the chat. Would you like me to start?
yes, actually, if it's possible, could you share your screen for the first part as well and show it in a document or something because that won't show up in the recording.
Okay. I'm going to take a minute then and save it to make sure I can do that smoothly. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see? Sounds like a yes. So I'm also putting it in the chat and I will start.
Yes, we could see that, so we should be good to go.
Thank you.
Could you make it just a tad bigger, Yolande?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
On your own end, you should be able to drag uh, the border between the cameras and the shared screen to the right, and that should increase the size of the shared screen.
Is okay. Is the text bigger now, or do you want me to make it bigger?
Yes, a combination of the two. The text should be plenty big. Let me know if you still have issues, Isabel.
Is it
Yeah, that's
okay?
good.
Okay.
And we can always link the text later on, which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
already in the chat actually, so
yes.
you may begin.
Yeah. Thank you. I also will share a link to this story. This has been published, and right now it's accessible online through an anthology you can download. You don't need to sign up for a mailing list or anything like that. I'll link to that when I'm done. So this is just 2 paragraphs from a creative nonfiction essay called Hear Me about my being hard of hearing. Sometimes coworkers look at me suddenly and I know they've heard something and are wondering if I've heard it too. My mind races, studying them and wondering how to respond like a hearing person, for for I've learned, sorry, for I've heard nothing over the orchestra in my head. Voices pierce my eardrums like hot metal rods. Cicadas scream like my mother. My students are sprites shrieking in my ears. The shrill I carry with me everywhere is loudest at night, a disturbance I can't turn off. It's not an unbroken line of sound. Tones stop and start, falter and flutter. More so in my left ear, my bad ear. The sound in my right ear is lower, steadier, a warning, rather than the left's booming clang. So those are the 2 paragraphs, and this is about my hearing loss, but also my tinnitus and hearing sensitivity. So I'm going to stop the share so I can prepare the other document. I'm going to make the font bigger too. So can everyone see this one? And Isabel, is the font big enough?
That's
I can
great.
see it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I am only sharing 2 essays. The first one is an example of my pieces about being hard of hearing. And right now I'm working on a manuscript called Hear Me, Hearing the Hard of Hearing, all about this topic. And this next essay, The Anxious GERD Diet, is from what I'm envisioning as a different essay collection or a memoir in pieces about my other disabilities like chronic illness, which is what this is about. So, the anxious GERD diet. And I should say this is in the format of a hermit crab essay. So since you're seeing it as well as hearing it, you'll see the form. So it adopts the form of an actual diet, but it's talking about chronic illness. 4 years ago, your second flare-up of gastroesophageal reflux disease, what you awkwardly call bad stomach acid until you find the term flare-up, which is more apt. Months of trial and error led to a strict regimen you still partially follow. Avoid these foods. If in doubt, test to confirm intolerance. Dairy. You've abstained from this for the last 5 years after 2 naturopathic doctors suggested cow's milk may be the cause of your congested sinuses, and they were right. Score. Alternatives: nut milks, ice creams and cheeses, buffalo milk kefir, and goat milk. Sodas. Another score. After a couple of years of sugar-free diets to address other health issues, soda pop is a rare treat you're happy to skip. The bubbles in the liquid mimic and cause acid, so even sugar-free varieties are out. Alternatives: kombucha, the sourer the better, or homemade flavored waters. Just add fruit rinds or mint leaves to a bottle of chilled water for a day and voila. Tomatoes. This restriction you remember well from your first GERD flare a decade ago, when you learned tomatoes were among the most acidic foods. For years, you'll miss the sweet tang of ketchup and switch to mayo instead. Alternatives. Once you've healed a fair amount, ajvar, a Balkan paste made from red peppers and eggplant, or your partner's labor-intensive homemade no-mato sauce. Citrus, like lemon and lime. Limes were once one of your favorite foods, but now you scan ingredient lists and inquire at restaurants to discover, as with tomatoes, that citrus juices are frequently used as cheap flavor enhancers. Alternatives: apple cider vinegar, tamarind paste, lime leaves, passion fruit, and citric acid. Red meat and alcohol. Not a big loss. You love vegetarian food, and you haven't drunk much since your last job. Alternatives: fit in at social events by ordering berry-flavored kombucha in a wine glass. Oily or fried foods. The heavy oil is hard for your stomach to digest, similar to red meat. Alternatives: none. Early in your recovery, even the oily fried egg at your local restaurant wrings out your insides. Chocolate. You pine for your formerly favorite food for 1.5 years until you can tolerate its earthy, bittersweet calm again. Alternatives: none that you can find. Later you rediscover carob, which you also enjoy, but its fruity chalkiness doesn't quite satisfy. Caffeine. This is the one you'll struggle with. How do people stay awake? Over the months, as you nurse yourself back to equilibrium in rented rooms, living off savings, you'll compensate with 20-minute naps. When you run out of money and go back to work full time, you reluctantly settle on using or abusing sugar as a quick energy substitute. Alternatives: once you can tolerate them again, hot chocolate, dandelion coffee, and green tea. Backtrack on the green tea when the pandemic hits and your digestive system regresses due to what one person on social media called experiencing a real-life crossover between a staycation and a Saw movie. Beans. Though not acidic, too many of these fiber-heavy foods trigger your irritable. I will start again. Though not acidic, too many of these fiber-heavy foods trigger your irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, which your doctor diagnosed you with at the same time as your second GERD flare. Take electrolytes and things like coconut water or hydrator mixes to help with hydration to avoid your bowels' painful griping with nothing coming out. Alternatives: get your vegetarian protein from sources like tofu. Hot spice. You used to dislike spicy food until you visited friends in Texas and fell in love with mouth-singeing Tex-Mex. Your tongue still adores the flavor, but your gut violently disagrees. Alternatives: flavor foods with digestive herbs like cinnamon, ginger, and turmeric. Timing of meals. Consume a healthy snack every 2 hours and split meal times into smaller portions 4 to 5 times a day. Both overeating and undereating can trigger stomach acid. It is a fine balancing act, one which you will fumble like a toddler trying to walk. The day you rush all over the city, skipping lunch in search of a computer repair shop, leaves your empty tummy heaving. The snacks you kept downing weren't enough. Meal times require more than the empty promise of a foil-wrapped bar, protein-filled or not. Other instructions. Panic when you're exhausted but can't lay down for 2 hours after eating and you eat 5 small meals a day. The doctor said 3 hours would be safer, or even 4. You perfect sitting up naps, your upper torso propped up by pillows or arms hugging a beanbag chair. So I'm going to stop there. I will also share the link to this essay, which was published in Plenitude magazine, into the chat. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for sharing. Jess still isn't back yet, and I realize now that for the purposes of the recording, we didn't do the intro that Jessica would normally do. We'll probably add that afterwards for the video that we upload. Actually, Jess is ready now. So, Yolan just finished. Yeah.
Hi. Well, I'm just kind of rejoining us, and I see Cass is joining us. Thank you, Yolande, for presenting. I really appreciate everyone sharing their work tonight. Oh yes, I forgot to turn my camera back on. So who's presenting next?
Next on the list is Robin.
Robin. So Robin, you're up next. I'm gonna unpin Yolande here, and I'm going to pin you. And then, all right. So you're you're ready. We're ready for you, Robin. Feel free to share your screen.
Okay. Screen. Oops, sorry. Just getting some help here. Okay, and then click that. Okay. Okay, my name is Robin Rennie. I know I'm looking from the side on that you're seeing the side of my face because I've got a computer over here with the camera, but I need to use assistive devices over to my left in order to navigate here. I'm a visual artist with vision impairment. In fact, I'm legally blind. I wasn't always legally blind, but almost 20 years ago. In fact, it'll be 20 years next month, and I keep track. I had a serious illness that permanently damaged and seriously damaged my optic nerve. So I still wear glasses because what I can see, I was always short-sighted. So I need every little bit of help I can get. So what I used to paint, I was high realist during the Robert Bateman wildlife craze. I was a very, very detail oriented, very, I wanted things to, it's still painterly, but I wanted things to look as realistic as possible. And then when I had my vision loss, I could no longer, I can't draw a straight line to save, like I literally cannot. And so I was very unhappy with the kind of work that I was able to produce. And for a long time, I didn't do anything. But that, creative impulse just doesn't go away. And so I had to reimagine how I was going to express myself. And it took a long time. This was a year's kind of thing. And I went through, a whole period of experimentation, and I began to do things more with more texture and this kind of thing, these landscapes. So it's more abstract. There's a lot of mediums in here. This would be like a gel paste. This stuff is called peat plastic in here. You can see that. You can see me moving my little cursor. No? You should be able to see. Okay. It's very rough. It's actually made, it's a recycled product that TriArt in Canada makes. And so I was trying to, and I use a lot of iridescent and metallic colors, trying to impress to the viewer how I see. I mean, things come in and out of my vision, and if I turn my head a certain way, something that wasn't there is suddenly there. I can see out of the corner of my eye. So I was using these various mediums to try and impart how I see, but also to create something that was pleasing to me. And it took some time, but eventually I got to the point where I was really happy with it. And then I started, whenever I would do like a public art installation, like this tree that was a commission from from Oro-Medonte, where I used to live in Ontario. This is all very tactile, all the different spring flowers. And I've used Braille at the top. I try to incorporate Braille wherever I can in my artwork. And the reason that this sort of came about was the story was twofold. So I had to reimagine how I was going to work as a painter, but I also discovered during my lived experience that I couldn't tell what I was looking at when I would go to art shows. And even things like I went to the Frida Kahlo immersive art exhibition in Toronto, which was absolutely wonderful. The music and the lights and just being enveloped, but I couldn't figure out what I was looking at. And so I would have to go home afterwards and and Google all these different things to be able to get the information to say, okay, that's what I was seeing, And I realized that my lived experience was a lived experience of a lot of people in my community. And so then I began to make my art in a way that other people with low vision or even no vision could experience art, because people with low vision and total blindness still want to experience art. They want to know what, I mean, they may not experience it exactly the way a fully sighted viewer does, but they want that experience too. So I began to do things that were more tactile. I know some other artists will, incorporate sound or smell or whatever. I've never done that. I had a show. My son works for the Ministry of Health, and one of his big jobs that he did was to make their website completely accessible. So he, with alt text and everything, and he's been great. I had to pay him, but he made my website what he says, government approved, accessible for people with low vision. So he built an app for me that we used on smartphones. And I had a show in Toronto just before COVID shut everything down. I mean, like literally 2 weeks before. And in this, I had my paintings, and we used this app on smartphones, and you would just point it at a QR code, and it would give a description of the work, and it was like a computer generated description. And I also had Braille text as well. I even had in mind, for deaf blind viewers, the Braille description and whatever. And it was good, and it had some success. But what I discovered in this was that there are a lot of people who don't have access to smartphones. And even though we had a couple of little iPads, or not iPads, tablets available for people to use, if you don't have any money, you can't afford $1,000 phone. And I had learned this through CNIB, because they had a program for a long time called Phone It Forward, and where they were trying to get people to donate their old phones, and they would wipe them and put assistive apps on the phone for people with low vision to use, which is a fabulous idea. So anyway, so after this was over, I took what I had learned and the data that I had collected, because I'm always, very data oriented. And I approached the Canada Council for the Arts, and I said, okay, this is what I did. This is what worked. This is what I would like to expand upon. And they were very generous, gave me everything I asked for. And so then we built, my husband and I, I told him what I wanted, and he built it, audio devices that literally we were able to build for a little under $40, which is phenomenal. I mean, you can buy, museums have these things that they use all the time, and they can buy them, but they're a lot of money, right? And so what I wanted was for small galleries and for artists themselves to be able to build these things themselves, so that they could use them and make their work accessible. And so I had a show a year ago it took 4 years, sorry, I'm trying to get ahead of myself here. It took 4 years to get everything together. This show, I had the opportunity to have a very large solo exhibition. And what I did do in this, I had made 2 tactile replicas of paintings in that show in Toronto. Well, this time there were 27 paintings, and every single painting had a life-size tactile replica. So 54 pieces in total. Each pair of paintings had, oh, I'll go to the next thing here. Each pair of paintings, oh, that's me reading the Braille to the little sculpture. And okay, so here's the show. You can see the audio device in the middle. It's very simple. There was an indicator on the floor. If you were completely blind, you could come up to it and touch it with your cane. You'd know you were standing directly in front of it. And all the instructions for this were at both entrances to the museum, so people knew what to expect. And you just reach out, put that headset on, push the button with the flat of your hand. Very, very simple, because if you don't see well, you need things to be, as easy as possible. And there would be a recording in my voice, of the painting itself, like a description, as well as some of my insights. So what you see, this is a triptych on the left, and to the right is the tactile replica of the triptych. So this was, oh, again, there's like little signs underneath it. There's Braille, use large print, just make it just as accessible as possible. And and I encouraged people to touch. And this was really, this was super well received. And also sighted viewers absolutely loved it. Kids loved it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have to touch everything. And so, it just gave a whole other dimension to the art experience. And then this is okay, so this is a close-up, or this, yeah, a close-up of one of the paintings. This would be a 24 by 36 painting. This is the house that I grew up in, and what I used was an old photograph from the 1930s. It was a house that my great-grandfather built, actually, and you can see it in the tactile replica. I used the actual photograph too, and then the painting, I created it to be like, this place was such a place of such great comfort and happiness where I grew up. I called it halcyon days of childhood. And so the painting was close. Like, I wanted all of this textured stuff to just to give this feeling of closeness and comfort. And it was also the elms, before the elms died in 1968. And I was 8 years old, and I remember this, as if it was yesterday, all these beautiful elm trees that died over the course of that year. And every weekend, my father was out there with a chainsaw, cutting them all down. And so it was one of my favorite pieces. I actually ended up giving it to my brother afterwards and made him cry. But yeah, so my work now, I've got I just signed a contract with Wood Buffalo Region in northern Alberta. They're doing a pilot project, Art for Social Change, and they're using 6 of my paintings and tactile replicas and these audio devices as well for a show in December, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm also working with, and I'm quite sure a lot of you know these people, working with Tangled Art in Toronto, because I'm finding it, like, I had really hoped that by now a lot of galleries would be using this technology. My husband has documented everything very, very carefully and sourced everything. But people, even though they're super interested, they just don't seem to quite know how to begin. So Tangled, we're collaborating with Tangled to get a grant to start producing some of these and selling them, just to get it up and running and get it out there, because I think it's very important. I think it's a very important accessibility tool for galleries and museums. And there's a documentary about my work. If you go to my website, which is robinrennie.art, on the homepage, there's a documentary that aired on AMI TV last May that explains everything in detail. And yeah, they did a great job. I was super, super happy about that. So that is my story. Yeah, how do I unshare, honey?
Wow, thank you so much for sharing, Robin. That was amazing. Um, I'm so excited.
Oh,
Um,
I get stammering. I get very excited too. I'm very, very passionate about accessibility in the arts. It's my baby.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know Isabel had mentioned that she would love to feature you on her showcase. So the
Oh,
Disability
good.
Art Collective page, and she included an email in the chat, which
Okay.
I can reach out to you with those details as well after this.
Thank you. Again, I don't see any of that. So yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. So I will reach out to you with that.
Okay.
And thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna unpin you, and I know that who's presenting next, Samuel, on the list? Who's next on our list?
Next is Carly.
All right, so Carly, I'm gonna pin you, and then I just gotta find you in my list. There's so many lists on Zoom. All right. So I've got you pinned, Carly. So Samuel is going to share your presentation. So I'm actually, can I also pin you, Samuel? I think I can. Let me find Samuel. Okay, yeah, I see Samuel. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself and take it away. Thank you for sharing, and thank you everyone for sharing.
Okay. My name's Carly DeWitt. I'm an advocate, poet, and writer. Next slide. I have written a variety of advocacy-themed poetry that I've read at different rallies with New Brunswick Acorn. Next slide. For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to make a difference in the world around me, especially after I went to youth conference in Ottawa, where a group of both university students and other groups had these great big plans for youth, but when I asked about children and youth with disabilities, most of them were quite caught off guard. But it wasn't until the pre-employment facilitator at GMACL had suggested writing as an option, and I found a community of writers who helped me to get in touch with my thoughts and emotions that I find my advocacy voice. Since I took those first steps into the world of being a writer, I have not only been doing the advocacy-based poetry, I've also been working on writing my memoir in hopes that by telling my story, I would plant seeds of change that has been long overdue. I have earned the title of being a poet laureate when I'm sharing my poetry. Next slide. Next one. Now for the preamble. When Shelley, the chair of the New Brunswick Coalition for Persons with a Disability, introduced the idea of universal design to me, it inspired this poem. I knew right away I had to put a pen to paper. Universal design seemed like such a great and obvious solution, and that it could be a real asset to making housing more accessible and inclusive for everyone. Universal design. Okay. Universal design, we long to meet you, Universal design. We have heard many positive stories about how you have changed lives in countries like Australia who have adopted you. Cupboards that have shelves that can be brought down, making access to items inside them easier and safer too. You also bring us wider hallways and doorways for those who use mobility aids such as crutches, wheelchairs, and walkers. You help keep buildings looking good by saving money on damages. How I wish the decision makers would see the ripple effect of your design on our lives. You allow people to live safely in their own homes, longer, which in turn frees up beds in special care homes and hospitals, where too many people are waiting in the wings. Yes, universal design, we long to meet you. It looks like we will have to be the squeaky wheel to get the decision makers to act. Next slide. And New Brunswick Acorn asked if I could write a poem in response to the Residential Tenancies Act needing an overhaul. I wanted to share my observations of how profit-obsessed landlords are making housing unaffordable for everyone. Housing is a human right, and we all deserve a safe and accessible place to live. RTA Updates is the title. We long for the loopholes in the RTA to be sealed up permanently, so the profit-obsessed landlords can't sneak through easily. To give a sense of security for tenants who struggle to barely survive. Yes, the loopholes in the RTA need to be permanently sealed. And next one. As I started writing this poem, the words popped into my head about how frustrating the red tape people with disabilities have to deal with can be. Dealing with bureaucracy can feel like moving a stubborn bull elephant. Bureaucracy, you wore out your welcome. You stayed too long, it's true. The way you confuse and drain our energy too. Well, those who it is supposed to stop them from taking advantage, sit back and laugh, it's true. Making you excuse me. Okay. Well, making you out to be a pain in the butt and getting out of deep poverty, a fantasy, sad but true. Yes, current bureaucracy, you've worn out your welcome. Okay. This is the next one. I was walking in the halls of my apartment building, and as I thought about the coming new year, words began to flow. I went back to my apartment and wrote this poem the moment I returned. This poem came to me suddenly. I usually write in a stream of consciousness style where I write first and edit afterwards. Excuse me. As the new year is getting ever closer, we press onwards to our hopes and dreams. We need to remember to pause and see how far we've come. While we strive ahead, often we use up a lot of our energy trying to stay motivated. If we take time to rest and appreciate how far we have come, the flame of motivation fuels us forward. And that's all. That's all of them.
Thank you for sharing, Carly. That was wonderful. I loved hearing your poetry. I know Isabel also said, she was happy to see you sharing your poetry, and Yolande in the chat mentioned that she loved your poem. It gave her chills. So thank you for sharing. I'm so pleased that everyone was able to be here tonight and is able to share their story. It's so important to me, and I'm just so thrilled. So Carly, I'm just gonna unpin you. Who do we have next on our list, Samuel?
Next is David.
David. Okay, so David, I'm gonna pin you, and you'll be free to share. So you're all pinned. So take it away, David. Thank you for sharing with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've never done an artist talk, so let me know if I talk too long or if I'm all over the place. And I don't have a presentation prepared. I figured I'd just talk. I do have notes, and then just show some of the work that I have here where I paint. Hope that's okay.
That's perfect.
So my name is David Porter. I live and work in Fredericton, Brunswick. I've been painting pretty much all my life, but I started really learning how to paint about 25 years ago. And I've been painting full time as a career for about 3 years now. A little bit about me. I have a diagnosis of autism, depression, anxiety, chronic pain, and PTSD. So I seem to collect these, which makes life a little bit tricky. But in terms of art, I call them my superpowers. So for me, I think it enables me to be able to paint and just really focus for hours and hours and days and days and in the end, years and years. So I figured I'd show a little bit of how I learn. I hope it's okay. I'll try to flip this around and let me know if you see it. So then you don't have to look at me anymore. Okay, just see how I could flip this so that can you all see a couple paintings?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me know if you don't see them. So how I learn is just I copy other painters. So I try to look through a history of art that I really like, and then just do a deep dive in terms of how they produced art, their techniques, and then I try to merge their techniques, parts of it that I like with mine, and then just give it a try. So this one here, it's, sorry for the glare. So that's a copy of a Van Dyck painting. And then this one here is a Rubens. So Rubens and Van Dyck, they're the last two that I did a deep dive in, and I studied them last year. So yeah, anybody that's interested in painting, I find all this great art is all over the place, and it's online. So it's a lot of fun. Like, we live in an age where the information is infinite. So we could learn how any painter throughout history or any artist, how they did their stuff. So yeah, so that's how I learn. And then my art is divided, sorry for the shakiness. My art is divided, or my day job, in basically two streams. So one of them is I have paintings, so I can put it like this here, it might be easier to see. So I paint people, that's the main thing that I do. And then the everyday people that I paint is the everyday people around me, which is my family. So those are paintings of my daughters. And then if you look around my studio, they're all over the place. Same as with my wife. So those paintings there, I rarely sell them. I mainly just keep them around. Some are less portrait-like, and those might sell, but usually I just do them for me. I also do commissions every once in a while, but I try to keep that one at maybe 2 or 3 pieces per year, and I have just a couple people that I sell to. I love painting. I hate selling, so I try to separate the two. And then for the next little while, I was able to get a couple grants for this project. Sorry. So last year, and I can show you what I'm talking about. So last year, a couple of years ago, I did a project called Do We Exist, where I worked with people in the Riverstone Center downtown, just to shed light on some of the wonderful and very resilient people that are kind of living rough and on the streets. So I did a series of 13 paintings of people that some were homeless, some were dealing with addiction issues, but all were awesome people that I thought deserved a little bit of a positive light. So I did 13 portraits of these wonderful people that I met a couple of years ago. And then through that, I met a lot of people that did awesome work to on the community to help people out. So then that leads me, sorry for the walking around, to this project, which I called Modern Heroes, which is a series of 13 paintings of people that I found that do good work that I noticed myself. So this is the first completed one. So that one there is my wife. So it's mother, wife, and she's the hero of my universe. So each painting is a hero. I have Uncle Rob from the radio station, Grand Chief Ron Tremblay, so a whole bunch of wonderful people that's participating in this. And each portrait is 6 feet by 3 feet. And I'm hoping to be done by the end of 2025. So if everything went really well, it'd be done by September, but likely it'll be done by December. Then after that, I have a couple of shows lined up. So, and I'll show you one work in progress just so that you see. I need a ladder for these because they're a little bit high. Oh. This is one that I'm working on. This is my public servant, so hero of the people. So yeah, so don't judge it too hard. It's just half done. So yeah, so that's about it. Sorry if it's too short. I could talk more if anybody has any questions.
This was perfect. Thank you for sharing, David. I think we're going to be doing questions close to the end, just so we can get through presentations, but this was awesome to see your work. It was so cool. And I know a lot of people in the comments are saying, Carly said, your paintings look so lifelike. Yolande said, they're so realistic and stunning. Isabel said, the lovely public servant is gorgeous. So I think everyone is really loving your work. Thank you for sharing. I also love like that you kind of also took us on a bit of a studio tour, and I think that was really, really fun because
Okay.
it's nice to see how we all work differently in our different environments that we work in as well. So who's next on our list, Samuel?
Next is Isabel. So I'm going to share the screen for the video. Isabel, did you have anything you wanted to say before I started, or should I just set it to go?
No, you go right ahead. Thank you.
Oh, let me check that the audio is on.
Yeah, maybe let it buffer a little bit.
Could everyone hear those symbols?
No. This was part of a catapult presentation. So Jessica is a recent graduate of this program, and I encourage any of you to apply. And if you need any help, let us know. We will help you.
Could you hear the video? Could you hear it? So no, people can't hear this? Well,
Did we hear any sound on the video, guys?
No.
Okay, yeah, Samuel, we're not hearing sound on the video.
There should be like a
Nothing?
shared audio in the settings somewhere.
Yeah, and I have that turned on. We tested this on Jess's computer earlier, but not mine. I'm on Linux, so sometimes that can cause problems.
I'm actually just going to share this from my end, guys.
Yeah, because
'cause
we know it works from Jess's computer.
We're kind of dealing with the vast expanse of technology and all its wonder. So I know that sometimes things don't work as anticipated, so just bear with us. Is it sharing properly?
Yes.
Okay.
You can full screen it if you want.
Okay, I think I clicked the wrong button. Okay, here we go. And just have to pull that. There we go.
So my name is Isabelle Woutoua. I'm a multidisciplinary artist from Grand Barachois, New Brunswick, and now I'm living in Fredericton. My journey began 2 years ago, where I decided to paint every day for a year. It was kind of like a mental health project for me. I was working in a call center, as you do in New Brunswick, and my boss gave me a quiz about employment satisfaction or something like this. And it said something like the results of the quiz said that I needed autonomy, creativity, continuous learning. And I'm like, wow, that's none of that is what I'm doing at work. so I thought, oh, well, I better start doing art every day. So I was doing it for me. I wasn't doing it for show or anything. I was focusing more on how the art made me feel, being in the present moment with it, and really just enjoying myself, trying new mediums. So I was really interested in the art therapy aspect of it. So I explored all the mediums I could, from pastel to gouache to acrylic, watercolor, on and on, sculpture, everything. So, or anything I could get my hands on anyway. And because I dedicated this time, a full year, I signed up for anything that I could. So somebody needed an art teacher. I was like, I applied for it and surprisingly got the opportunity. And I did plein air festival. I did live painting, like art battles and things like that. So I really got to try and a whole variety of things, which I found really exciting. And it really did bring a lot of joy back into my life. And I'm very grateful for that. And while I was reflecting on this, like, why didn't I, because I used to draw and I used to do improv when I was younger. I had a background in swing dance as well for like a good 10 years. And I always did like creative things, but I never made the connection of like, oh, well, why not do art? And the reason was, looking back, is that I'm visually impaired, and I can't see color, and I can't see, well, a lot of things really. But I was always scared that it wasn't like, this isn't for me, right? Like when you take a painting class or whatever, they're always like, oh, color theory, you can't mix this with that and blah, blah, blah. So I was a bit intimidated by it, but like I said, this was just for my eyes. But knowing me, very messy person, I decided I wanted to have like a portfolio of all the work that I did, to just see it in all one place, because it is quite big and the apartment was getting a bit crowded. So I put them all on Instagram. And somebody asked to buy some, and I was like, wow. And when I did art battle, they sold. And when I did the plein air painting, it sold. And I was like, okay. So I decided to, just see, like, well, maybe I should apply for an exhibition. So I got a solo exhibition, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. It's so much fun. I got so much excitement out of it. And so
I decided to create my own art practice, and I named it Creating Accessible Solutions, because I want to focus on like disability awareness within my art practice and my art teaching. I want to make sure that the classes that I do focus on inclusive art education. I did learn about disability arts and what that means. Like, it's such a fascinating topic to me, like to explore the experience of people that you don't get to see it. I've learned through my practice that when you stop focusing on, like, painting is such a visual medium, and when you stop focusing on that visual aspect and what you're trying to express is so much more satisfying and rewarding. So I really enjoy teaching classes, and I have been doing so for quite a while now. It's very rewarding to find different solutions on how to bring things together. So and this pandemic has illuminated some accessibility issues as well. So through Zoom and things like this, like, it has made things a lot more accessible, right? Like, I can't bring a bunch of supplies with me in a car, which I don't have because I don't drive, to a festival. Like, what am I gonna, hike there with a backpack? Like, it's not a practical thing to do, right? Or there's all kinds of other time constraints or accessibility issues. So I want to bring this to the forefront. I'm open to doing presentations. What I have done so for the NBCCD Craft College. They asked me to speak and do a public presentation there, as well as ArtsLink New Brunswick. So I'm happy to do that, to teach classes, to sell artwork, and just to promote overall inclusive art education. So you can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these things. And I'd be happy to collaborate. I actually really thrive in that. I love, like I said, I was a swing dancer and a improviser. So these are collaborative arts, right? They're arts that you do in the moment that are ephemeral, and you share that creative space with another person. It's really special. And I want to create that creative atmosphere in my art class as well, because I feel like you can learn a technique all you want. You can, go to a painter and learn how to paint like them. But ultimately, my goal is to be like, how can we express what you want to say in your artwork, and what exciting things do you want to create? So thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I'm so grateful to be here, and congratulations to all the people before and that will come after.
That was excellent. Thank you for the presentation, Isabel. So who's next on our list?
Next is Ramneet's video.
Ramneet's video. Are we sharing that on your?
Well, it didn't work last time, so we'll just share it on yours again. Do you not have it?
I have it.
Okay. Yeah.
I just have to get things open, so this will just take a moment. All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen okay. So I'm just gonna hit the play button, and if we can't hear anything, let me know.
I'm Ramneet Kalra. I'm a curator, photographer, poet, author, improv artist, and a stand-up comedian. Basically, I'm a storyteller, and this forms the basis of my business, StoryPix Studio. StoryPix Studio means that every picture has a story behind it. I did my first curation with 17 artists at Paddemush Gallery and have curated 4 group exhibitions since then. I try to be a BIPOC artist and I want to make our voices heard. I have written 3 books: The Lazy Motivation, Here We Are Forever, and A Journey Through Poems. My career highlights. My first solo exhibition, A Journey Through Photos, was selected for display at Paddemush Gallery in November 2022. I followed it up with Sync leadership training and then did the Letters to the Prime Minister, which was a COP15 summit held by Nature Canada and Conservation Council of New Brunswick. One of my photographs was selected for UNB Arts Center's private collection. I was also awarded the JL Community Events Award sponsored by the JL Legacy Fund in March 2024 for curation of artworks by various artists. In October of 2024, I did my Arts Atlantic Symposium where I was a key panel speaker, and I'm currently pursuing Catapult 2025. Here are a few examples. There are a few poems that I wrote based on the photographs that I took. The first one is Whispers of the Sunset. The sky is painted soft and bright, a golden glow, a kiss of light. Waves embrace the fading gleam as the day drifts into twilight's dream. The sea hums low, the breeze sigh free, a whispered song of dusk and sea, and as stars begin to rise, the ocean mirrors endless skies. Tranquility. In search of tranquility, more than silence, more than peace, soul and senses, be still and calm, storm and waves, be still, be calm, one focus, but be seen anywhere, everywhere, anywhere, nowhere. Life is a river, the endless river from the beginning to the end, gushing across the mountains and to the very end, a vast expanse of mystery, with waves that crash upon the shore and secrets hidden in its core. Life like a river's flow, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Life like a river, sometimes shimmers like glitter. The river may be strong when it rushes across the steep mountain, the steep valleys, but when it comes to the sea, it can't go back. The journey's end is not the sea, it's the joining, not duality. So just go with the flow and be like the river. Here are a couple of photographs that I have taken and which are very close to me, and I hope you like them.
Oops. Oh no.
Thank you for being a part of this exciting journey with me, and you have a great day, guys.
I'm so excited that Ramneet could join us like extra virtually um, with his recorded submission. I'm really fabulous photography and poetry, and it's so nice to hear about Ramneet's work. So I'm glad that even though Ramneet couldn't be here, he was able to share his story with us. Um, so Samuel, who's next on our list?
Sorry. Next is Cass.
Cass. Okay. So Cass, I'm gonna pin you. So Cass, if you've got your PowerPoint presentation, if you
I
hit the,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. If you hit the green button to share your screen,
Yep.
you should be able to share
Uh-huh.
your PowerPoint.
Okay. Hope that. Oh wait. I forgot to click on that and then click on there. I hope. Is that working?
I can see your Zoom, Cass. Do you have, I think you might be
Oh
sharing your,
yeah.
Once you tab
Uh
over to your PowerPoint presentation, this
yeah.
should be
Yeah.
okay.
And does anybody know how to like put it on like a play mode? Because I haven't figured that out.
It should be on the very bottom right. There's a little button that looks like a screen pulled down.
No.
Uh,
Little button like a screen pulled down. Ah, okay. I think I see it.
I think you can double tap on the main
yeah,
image.
that's the one.
That's the one?
Yep.
Cool. I knew that was possible.
Did it.
Oh no, and now I don't.
And
My
if you could just hit
artist.
you hit the hide button as well on the box in the center, that should remove it from the screen as well.
Oh my goodness. Where's my mouse? Okay.
There you go.
Oh,
All right, you're good to
yeah,
go.
I was good to go. Wait, how do I make it go again? Just click?
You should just be a click or a double click or maybe hit the space bar. Any of those should work to go to the next slide.
Cool. Okay, well, hi, my name is Cass. The screen I'm currently using actually is the screen that has my artist statement on, so I know I'm going to see if I can find it in my phone. Because that would be great if I could just read the artist statement. That would be great, but I don't think I can find it. Oh, well, I can just. I'm trying to remember what it said, but I can't remember. I never done an artist talk before. So
You can come out of full screen mode and just swap between as you need to, if that's what you need to do.
And if you need somebody to read it, I'm sure we'll find somebody to.
Ah,
yeah, I can
yeah.
read your artist
You
statement,
have
Cass.
a copy
I
of it.
have it.
You have a copy of it, yeah.
Yes, I do. Do you want me to read your artist statement, and is that okay?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Cass, just go ahead and advance the slides whenever you want to, and Jess will just start reading.
Yeah. And sorry, I only have titles on these two. I didn't get the rest done.
That's okay.
They're just pictures.
We're still excited to see what you have to show us. So I'm reading Cass's artist statement. So my name is Cass Maz, and I'm a visual artist, performer, comedian, and most importantly, an advocate. I was put on Earth in this particular situation to bridge the gap between the able world and the hidden world of disability. Tonight, I'm here to welcome you into the fold by revealing to you my work and my story. On my 26th birthday, I hosted a paint and sip, and the instructor taught different techniques I could use with my ataxia, so that's shaky limbs. I was amazed that I could tell what my final result was. Learning those techniques inspired me to pursue painting and to learn more about visual art. This pivotal moment set me on my artistic journey and changed the path of my life forever. I discovered a new world. I don't know why, but I love the feeling of having dirty hands after I paint because it feels like a job well done. And I know I have truly been immersed in the world of paint that only I can know. Painting completely envelops my thoughts. When I am painting, I'm at peace. I get so honed in and focused on creating that I can forget all the intrusive thoughts. My creativity is a force field against the negativity of my life. There are so many times where I've looked at pieces of my work and been surprised that I can actually create the work I do. After years of creating, I've been able to look back and be inspired by my artistic journey and all of the creativity that has brought me to where I am today. I dabble in many different mediums. I use pencil, charcoal, and smudge sticks to do sketches, and I also use alcohol ink on my ceramic work. What I find most exciting as a medium is gouache. Gouache is interesting to me because I can either apply it thickly or in thin layers. I find you can do more based on the thickness or thinness of gouache because even though it is not a very forgiving medium, gouache fills a very specific need and works in the way that I want. I use gouache for fine details in my smaller works, and in my larger paintings I use acrylic. This year, I'm pursuing more performance opportunities. I am in the musical Magic Beans with the Spirit Project, and the musical is going to be presented at the Fredericton Playhouse in April. I'm doing improv with Solo Chicken here in Fredericton, and I have had several comedy shows across New Brunswick. I am open for commissions and performance opportunities. I would also love to hear from you if you are an artist looking to collaborate.
Cool, Jess. You're a super good reader.
Thank you. Well, you have a super interesting career in art and things to talk about, so it makes it even more fun to read.
I dabble in quite a bit. I don't know if there was anything anybody saw that wanted to ask questions about or anything.
I think questions happen at the end.
Oh, at
Yeah.
the very end, yeah.
We're planning
But
questions.
we're almost there now.
We're planning questions at the end, but I know from the chat everyone is saying your work is excellent. So I think thank you for sharing, Cass.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm
I
glad.
just wanted to give some context on this one.
Sure.
Because it's the process of like when I first started it and to when I had a winter and then to the person who put it on the wall thought that was neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So, that's all.
So if you click the stop sharing button, that will there should be like a red button.
Okay, yeah, I
It's
see
right
it.
in the middle, so that'll help us stop sharing. But that was an
Okay.
excellent presentation, Cass, and
Yeah,
thank you for
thank
sharing.
you.
Thank you for
Thanks
sharing
for
your story.
reading.
It's fabulous. So who's next?
It's the final presenter, Jessica.
Yeah.
You get to do 2 presentations in a row.
No. Yes, I had a presentation on the 22nd. So I'm just
Although
gonna...
I mean you were just doing Cass's.
That's okay. we were helping. We were just helping.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna unpin you, Cass. I guess I don't need to pin me. Samuel's... I can. Because Samuel, you're sharing my slides, remember?
I almost forgot.
So I didn't have as much time as I would like to um, put together my script for this. So I'm gonna fly by the seat of my pants. Uh, so my name is Jessica Kenny. I'm an artist, musician, and poet. I'm also an advocate, an art uh, educator, and presenter. So next slide, please. I dabble in many, many things. I'm multidisciplinary, so a lot of my recent work is textile paintings. So these are some abstract pieces that I did. I love to use a lot of color in my work. Um, so uh, there's definitely the piece on the left is called The Winding Path. It's a collaboration between Isabel Vautour and myself that we did in the Fredericton Botanical Gardens, and it's all hand sewn. Uh, the piece on the far right is it's called the Glow of Friendship, so it's mostly orange, and there's two friendship bracelets, and they're like glued onto it. I wanted to see if I could glue friendship bracelets to fabric with fabric glue, and it did work. Um, and the friendship bracelets are actually bracelets that I had made. Um, so I love upcycling and incorporating different textures and colors and upcycled material in my work. Um, the center picture actually has a wooden cat on it. It's called Upcycled Cat. So I had dropped this little cat knickknack and it broke, and I didn't know what to do with it. And then I had this painting that I didn't like that I had done. And so I thought, well, what if I merge these together? And I upcycled the cat and I upcycled the painting with upcycled fabric. So it's something made from a lot of sources. um, So I'm always looking to do something different. Next slide, please. Um, so here's even more textile work. The piece on the left is actually a work in progress piece that I am making right now. I'm kind of reprising the winding path as some of the fabric is the same as the original piece, but this piece is called Holding It Together, where the other piece has really um, more straight and simple kind of paths carving through it. Like the paths are winding, but they're not messy or wrinkly or difficult. I felt like this one, I tried to wrinkle the fabric and I tried to overlay it in a way that like it's just holding itself together, in that it's not clean, because there's definitely uh, things felt so much easier and clean with the other piece in my life, and with this piece it's like things are a lot more wrinkly and difficult. So I felt like that was definitely an interesting contrast in the pieces. And the piece on the right is called The Forest for the Trees. So it's you're trying to see the trees through the forest of fabric, and it's I thought that was a fun way to kind of show all these more like botanical patterns over trees. Next slide, please. I also do crochet work. I have an approach to art that's adjustable art, because a lot of times I don't feel well. I have fibromyalgia, and I have good days, I have bad days. So oftentimes, I still want to be creative. I still want to do things, but I'm not up to, sitting and doing work, or um, so I end up doing, when I'm feeling particularly bad, I do a lot of crochet work because I can just sit and work with yarn, and work with the textile, like the tactile feeling of the yarn. I make a lot of blankets because as you make them, they cover you and you feel cozy. Uh, it's definitely fun. I work with a lot of bright, bright colors because they help me feel better, and I think they're really fun to work with. You'll probably notice I use a lot of orange in my work. Um, so next slide, please. I do dabble in digital painting as well. So this is a piece that I had actually made during Global Game Jam, I believe last year or the year prior. Um, so it's a sunset with like clouds and mountains, and uh, Global Game Jam is an event where you make a small video game in over the course of 24 hours. So this was a title screen for a small video game. So art is in amazing and unlikely places sometimes, even in video games. So it's I find it so fun because you can be a textile artist, a musician, and all these different things. But then you can be like, oh yeah, my work is in a video game. It's so versatile. Next slide, please. I also do sculpture and photo manipulation. So this is actually an example of both. The sculpture in the center is a seashell, and it is carved out of soap. The sculpture itself no longer exists because I wanted this to be somewhat of an ephemeral piece. It's sitting on a piece of paper that looks like waves, like sea foam, and I had put it into image editing software and played with the colors. So I'd done some techniques to really pull out certain colors um, and make everything look like that kind of space, bright seashell type of thing going on. Next slide, please. I also have done, this is a small sculpture out of air dry clay of a fat body. So this is, I actually don't have a name for it, but uh, you'll notice on the back, like the back is red. So I did that to kind of be like represent back pain. I feel like it's important for us to, show underrepresented bodies in our work. Just like, we're telling our stories of like being a minority or marginalized. I think it's important to show underrepresented bodies and stuff too, because representation is everything. Next slide. This is some of my illustration work. So there's a couple of anatomy studies. There's also a dinosaur. Uh, so I drew a raptor. I did like a very quick pencil sketch of a raptor. And I think he's just very expressive. And I had done some studies, so I have like a skull study that I did, like studying like the different bones and stuff in the skull, and I also did like a study of like focusing on like the scapula and like the bones in the arm. Um, so I really have kind of a wide range of things that I do. It is fun to study anatomy, and I am working on some projects that kind of bridge art, anatomy, and some of my other mediums as well, because that anatomy has come in very helpful, so I've been very lucky to be able to study anatomy in the way that I have through art. Next slide, please. This is some of my graphic design work. I've made logos for some people in the community. So I also do that. Yeah, Isabel's mentioning. Yeah, so the logo on the left is a logo that I've made for Isabel. The logo in the center is a logo that I've made for Rimney, and the logo on the right is a logo that I had made for, I think someone was doing an awareness pamphlet. I cannot remember what the logo on the right was, but I really had fun creating them. When I do a lot of logos, I do them as vectors, so that you can make them really big if you have to, so they have like a smooth look to them. Next slide, please. This is some of my poetry. I write in free verse. I can read some of my poetry. I chose a couple very short examples. The first poem is called "My Cat is My Best Friend." So, my cat is my best friend. They make me smile. Cats are a ray of bright sun on a rainy day, warm and friendly in a cold, lonely world. Their silky, soft fur is a welcome embrace. Rumbling and grumbling, their purrs lift my troubles away. And my second poem is called Music. Squeak, squawk, obnoxious sounds float heavily in the air. Scrape, buzz, cacophony, the melodious sound of learning. I wrote this at a time I was learning violin. There was a lot of squeak, squawk, scrape, and buzz. Next slide, please. This is a collaborative work between myself, Isabel, Ramneet, and Samuel also helped us. So we participated in the Quiet Parade. It was a parade in Halifax, so it was accessible and completely silent. So it was an exciting time. We created giant monarch butterfly wings and handmade tutus, and we walked in our parade in our costumes. It was a really fun adventure, and I got to uh, use some of my costume design skills and also do some hand painting as well. So the wings are hand painted. It's uh, gesso and acrylic paint on plastic. Unfortunately, the paint did not stick as long as I had hoped, so they weren't preserved for the future, but we do have some lovely photographs, which I'm very pleased. So this was a wild experience. My art has taken me to so many different places that I never would have anticipated. And this was one of them, and it was such a blast. Next slide, please. This is my installation called Touching Music. So I made this in 2023 with I had gotten funding through the Legacy Fund to build this work. So I had made this at the Fredericton Arts Alliance residency that happens over the summer. So what it is a felt board. So I have a giant 4 foot by 3 foot cork board. I covered it in flannel and we stapled it, and so that was our board. And then the staves are needle felted. So the staves are the pieces that have lines on them, and each music note is a felt piece that's been cut out so that you can stick that on the board and compose music. There's other elements like a treble clef. That's the big kind of swirly thing on the right. I cut out numbers for time signatures because we use numbers for time in music. And I also cut out like sharps and flats. So the thing that looks like a little B is called a flat. And I also cut out rests, and rests tell you when there's silence in music. So I have the parts that tell you when to be loud, and the parts that tell you when to be silent in music. So yeah, this was my foray into the world of installation, which was cool. And this installation has traveled to a few different places in New Brunswick, which is pretty cool. Next slide, please. And I thought I would include a slide about my work with the New Brunswick Disability Art Collective as their artist in residence. So I've been the artist in residence with the Disability Art Collective for 6 months, and this work was funded by artsnb. The photo that I included is actually of one of our community nights that happened to fall on my wedding night. So I got to wear my wedding dress to our community night, and it's been such a pleasure being able to interact with the artists in our community and to deliver these workshops and organize these community building events. So that's been, I think, one of my favorite adventures in art so far. Next slide, please. And this is my last slide. So I was going to talk a little bit about workshops and teaching that I've done. So I do different types of teaching. So like as the artist in residence with the Disability Art Collective, I created community building events and delivered 5 workshops. So these are workshops that focus on art writing and disability art. I also was a presenter at St. Mary's University in 2023 and 2024. I presented workshops on managing yourself when you have a chronic illness, or even a little bit about neurodiversity and how to manage kind of like yourself and your work and being okay while you're unwell. And I've done work as a private instructor. I teach recorder in my community, and I also do visual art lessons. And I've worked with students of all ages to share the joy of learning in art and music. I know I was doing recorder lessons with seniors in my community last year, and it was so fun because we've been approaching learning music by focusing on having as much fun as we can. So that's been definitely its own adventure. So that's me. I think. So thank you all for coming. This is my contact information. If anyone wants to collaborate or work with me, that's a link to my Instagram. My email is on screen, and I also have my phone number as well. So yeah, thank you very much.
Jessica.
Yeah,
I have a slide to share. Just one slide. Can I?
just one slide. Yeah, go
Just
ahead.
one slide, yeah.
So Samuel, you need to stop your share so Isabel can share. Thank you.
Just one slide.
Okay.
So it's a. Can you see it?
Yes,
Yay! So we did it!
we did it.
Woo! Pew 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 pew. This is a picture of a wheelchair that is empty because the user is
Mine.
enjoying the fireworks. Pew 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 pew.
Mine.
Wow.
Thank you so much for doing this, Jessica. I'm so happy with the residency and for everyone that shared. And yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, and this has been an excellent experience, honestly, and I'm so glad that everyone was able to come tonight and share their story and share their work. So I think we still have some time. We have about 20 minutes. If you guys have questions, if you guys want to talk or network, please feel free.
Do we want to network off with the recording or on?
This is true. This is true. This is true. I wasn't sure if we were gonna capture questions during the recording or. All right. So I will close this off with saying, this is the last part of my residency. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here for me and for the community and for sharing your story and your work. It's been amazing. Thank you, Charlie, for doing our ASL tonight. And thank you, artsnb, for funding this residency. Without the instrumental funding from artsnb, I would not have been able to complete this work. And thank you, Isabel, as well, for hosting my residency with the Disability Art Collective. So I'm going to stop our recording, and then we can do questions and networking.